the only place you can hear banter and debate from both sides of Stanley Park, whether it be blue or red. Sponsored by Their Clothing and Camper Kings UK. Hello and welcome to episode 15 of Across the Park podcast, season 21-22. For anybody who realises it looks a little bit different, we've got three blues this week. Myself, Ian Mills, joined by my man Andrew Price, and we are joined by Mike from the Blue Boys Network. Mike, first of all, thanks for coming on Across the Park. How are you?
I'm livid, mate. Same as the Blues, and the two Reds will be laughing their nipples off this evening at us, to be honest. But yeah, all good. It's a pleasure to finally make it, Millsy. You know, you've been on my show, Lord knows how many times now, we finally crossed over.
Yeah, reaping those benefits, but it's time for you to meet my cop-out friends, and I'm sure it's going to be very, very entertaining. As always, the Reds this week, Terry McGivern and Gary Murray. We are delighted to be sponsored, as always, by Their Clothing. Get over to theirclothing.com. Loads of Black Friday deals, Christmas deals coming up, and if you put ATP20 in the checkout, you will get 20% off. Who'd have thought it? Camper Kings UK as well. Get over to camperkings.co.uk. It is the season to camper van. It doesn't mean, just because it's not summer anymore, doesn't mean that you can't get out there and enjoy things in a camper van. Get over to camperkings.co.uk, and if you quote Across the Park podcast, you will get free insurance and a free bottle of bubbly. Fantastic. Terry, let's start with the Reds. You two, you and Gary done the instant match reaction, which is still available on the YouTube channel for anybody who wants to check out a more in-depth review of the game. But I mean, from what I seen, the second half was just one-way traffic. What are your thoughts? 48 hours removed, Liverpool 4, Arsenal 0.
Yeah, I think, as we said on the instant match, I think the first half was certainly a bit more, in balance. I thought Arsenal were reasonably okay, and I thought we were, a little bit, our tempo wasn't good enough. We were a bit bitty, and I think the game could have went either way. But certainly, once we got the first goal, and then obviously the second half, the performance was a lot more in sync. It was a lot more aggressive and a lot more like flowing football. And it's been, we see that sometimes in this Liverpool team that they sort of start games a little bit sort of slow, and we've laughed about it, haven't we? We talk about gears and things like that, and it's nice to know that they are still there, that we can kick them in when we need them. But I want to see it from the start. I don't know, when it wasn't an enjoyable first half, was it, Gaz?
No, absolutely not. But I don't think it was so much we didn't start quick. I just think the tactics from both sides cancelled each other out. I think the best thing, obviously it's easy to say, but the best thing that happened for us was getting the goal before half time. So that second half, they had to come out. So that gave us, I think that would have drastically changed our team talk at half time. Knowing full well they were going to, at some point in the second half, whether we had to bide our time till 60, 70 minutes or whether we could just go straight away, at some point they were going to have to come out and try and get an equaliser. And that's when, we can run ragged. We said it loads in the past. When teams do try and play against us and do try and come out, that's when our forwards flourish. And, you've seen it happen again there. Thankfully, as you said there, first half wasn't an enjoyable watch. For me, it was just typical. Mane was doing my head in all first half. It was proper annoying. And then just as you're getting angrier and angrier, he pops up with the goal and you just think, that's what you get from our front three. When even when they're having bad games, you've got that in the locker. And it's just great to see all three of them that started get the goal, and then Minamino coming on. His record, minutes of goals and influences on goals is just, to be fair to him, he's doing well as and when he's called on.
Yeah, I think one thing that we highlighted on the instant match, and it was something that we talked about on the podcast, in the preview of the game, was important that the midfield had a good game, wasn't it? We've been a bit worried about the midfield. It's been patchy, injuries, rotation. Even players that we look at as a mainstay, have not had good, not in good form, like Fabinho and stuff. So it was really, really pleasing to see Fabinho, Thiago have good games, and Oxlade-Chamberlain. Obviously, so I thought that they all done quite well.
Yeah, I always back Oxlade-Chamberlain. He's just one of them players for me that I like and I'm willing to do well so much. But as of recently, he hasn't been doing it enough he's very wasteful with the ball, and I think at occasions there, again on the weekend, he was a bit wasteful with the ball. But I thought out of possession, I think I said it on the instant match as well. Out of possession, he was phenomenal. One of the key players, I thought, for our breaking their possession down, and loads of interceptions, loads of closing down, putting them under pressure, and he nearly got his rewards for it as well. As a couple of times he had opportunities from winning the ball back high up the pitch, and he was just unlucky on a couple of occasions not to get his goal. So yeah, really pleasing things, as you said, from the midfield. Especially with it being so messed up all the time and different players all the time, and so yeah, hopefully if we can get it a bit more settled and there's more performances like that, then things are looking good again.
Yeah, I mean, the only other player that we singled out for real praise on the instant match reaction was Tsimikas. We talked about Andy Robertson maybe not being in great form at the moment, and possibly maybe needing a break out the team, and the worry with that, certainly on Trent's side, and that is there appropriate backup there? Is there someone that you can really rely on? And I think Tsimikas coming in there, every time he has been called on, he's starting to really look like a capable player.
That's it. And we have said it loads in the past, haven't we? When he has come in, you're thinking if he ever does need to play long periods because Robertson's either out of form or injured or whatever, you're not worried anymore because he can do a job. And for me, he shouldn't lose his place now for Porto. He should keep his place, and from there, for me, Robertson's got to try and win it back because he hasn't put a foot wrong whenever he's been asked to play. Yeah,
no, I agree. I think he deserves to stay in the side, and obviously Robertson's gone out with an injury. But as you say, it shouldn't be an automatic walk in, back in the side, because at the moment, he hasn't been in great form before he got injured, and obviously Tsimikas has when he's been called on. So really pleasing to see coming in there in a big game. We know we're playing before City. Chelsea. We know that we need the points. On the back of, as I said, on the instant match. Two pretty miserable results. In the previous week. So. To come in and against an Arsenal side that hadn't lost, I think, in 9 games or something, before that game, it was an impressive performance from him, and definitely warrants keeping his place in the team, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And look, I think you two were probably in an awkward situation yesterday, probably wanting Everton to win, so it's a good way to maybe move on to the Everton game. Pricey, we'll start with you, because I know Mike is going to give it everything, so we'll start with you, Pricey. For me, and you can react to this if you want, I just think there was a lack of effort there. I think the game plan maybe was correct. I think to try and stifle them, and if you get to half-time 0-0, it might have been different. But I seen a lot of players again yesterday who I just don't think really care. Is that fair? Would you agree, disagree? What are your thoughts on the game?
I don't know exactly what happened was what I was expecting to happen, but I'm still gutted about it. I just knew what we were going to do. We were going to hold on, try and stifle them until half-time, as you say. And I knew that the players weren't good enough to do it. I knew that there'd be lapses in concentration. What done me head in the most is that the agency when we were off the ball. So, yeah, we were keeping our shape, but when we had the ball, City were in our faces, getting off us. It was like they were desperate for winning the game. Come to us, we were just, as long as we were in our shape, we were letting them have the ball, letting them pass through us. There was no agency and no desire to get there. So whether that's a lack of people wanting it, well, it is, isn't it? And it's the same every week. The same players are letting us down week on week, and we're saying the same things about them every time we got on the podcast. It's just gutting knowing that it was going to happen, and it did happen. I was, there's always that bit of hope as an Evertonian. Maybe this is the week where we do have a good go. Maybe we can hold them off until at least till half time. It was just what it wasn't happening, but it was the lack of desire for me more than anything else. We were terrible on the ball. Because we can't keep possession to save our lives against the worst teams. Never mind against City. We didn't even look like we could string 3 passes together, and especially in the first half. So yeah, gutted, and I don't think we could have set up any differently. It's just a shame that we're crap and we can't stick to the game plan.
What you're saying there, the agency and the lack of trying to get into City's face and stuff, is what I perceive to be players not caring. It's probably a good chance to bring Mike into it. Mike, you watching the game yesterday, now just about 24 hours removed, what are your thoughts on City 3, Everton 0?
It's the same as Pricey. It's just raw anger, and it doesn't even matter about the performances. It doesn't even necessarily matter about the teams we're coming up against. It's just from start to finish, I expect those players. I'm not going to swear on this podcast. I'm going to behave, Milzer. But I expect these players to bottle it and to not put in a performance that we can even be proud of. We could have come off that pitch yesterday, lost 1-0 to City, and gone, you know what? Fair enough. They're just a clearly better side than us. But that didn't even happen. We completely fell apart. The midfield looked completely disjointed to the strikers. Well, to Richarlison, who was completely isolated. He didn't necessarily look like he was too invested in the game, but equally, I understand because he's not getting the ball. You've got the defence who, Luca Dean got tore a new one by Raheem Sterling every single time he went down the right-hand side. And if Manchester City had an Edin Dzeko in goal, the score would have been about 8-0 yesterday. It was just they just don't have a striker that can put the ball in the net. You've got Foden trying to win headers against Michael Keane, and even on a couple of occasions, he won the header. I mean, that's a disgrace in itself. From back to front, Everton don't appear to have an identity, and we were guilty of this last season with Carlo Ancelotti from about February to about April. May. We didn't. I couldn't see a plan. I couldn't see a concept of what was happening. I just saw 10 players behind the ball, a goalkeeper barking instructions at them, and essentially trying to keep them away from the goal and hitting them on the counter attack. And even when we did try and hit them on the counter attack, and we did use our pace, through Townsend, you had Seamus Coleman doing an overlap, or you had Iwobi running on the right hand side of him, who can't cross. And that's not a criticism of Coleman. I love Coleman. I have done for a long time, but he isn't at that level anymore where he should be playing every week, and certainly not against a Manchester City side that literally can tear you apart at will. There just was nothing. There was nothing I could watch that game and go, do you know what? Fair enough. The only person that ever comes off that pitch at this moment in time and I go, fair play to him, is Anthony Gordon. But even he's been thrown in the deep end. Even he doesn't look like, he's necessarily got the quality to go and beat 2 or 3 players on the run. And I don't expect him to at 20 years old. I don't expect it. But what I do expect is them to be some form of coordinated approach. I actually sound like I know what I'm talking about here. I'll tell you what, I'm not going to swear more often, Rosie. I expected some coordinated approach or style or plan. And as you say, Judge, Price, you saw it, Jesus Christ, as all of you. As you say, there was a plan to simply stop Man City scoring, stifle their attack. But we give the ball back to them so easy. I think we could have been 2 down after 12 minutes or something. And I sat there and I just thought, you know what? From a Blue perspective, which is what I was chuffed you mentioned about today. From a Blue perspective, 6 years ago, 5.5 years ago now, Farhad Moshiri walks in and says nothing will be the same. It's worse. This is in my lifetime. As an identity of a football club, as bad as I remember, and I know you guys have seen us in '94 and '98, and I'm just not old enough to know about and know that feeling, that pain. But this is as bad as anything under
Mike,
Sam Allardyce.
You can come on more often. This is great.
I know. I'm sitting there. You know when you just know that you're loading your own gun. Like I'm literally giving you ammunition, and like my match reaction on my channel, I literally just lost my head for 13 minutes. I just lost my head, and I look at Liverpool and I can't believe I'm going to say this. I really hate saying this. Mike. No, I'm not doing it. But as Liverpool fans, some Liverpool fans, you still, I think, want your owners out, or not happy with your owners, not happy with the way that Klopp was backed in the summer. I know some of the you wanted to make more signings than you did, etc., etc. And then I look at Everton Football Club and I go, phew. Well, when we've had the money, we've just absolutely toileted it. Like we've just gone now. Let's spend 35 million on Iwobi. Let's spend 30 million on Balassi. Let's put ourselves in a position where we have to try and get rid of all of our players on free transfers just to free up some wage bill. Honestly, it's the worst. It's the worst football manager game ever. This one, it really is.
I've said, Mike, I've said on this podcast, if this was Football Manager, you'd have pressed X a long time ago because it ain't working. It's like giving a kid who knows no better all your money in a toy shop and expect him to be sensible, and he's not going to be sensible.
Here's a question, Mill. So you have criticised Liverpool fans in the past, and not doing enough protesting and the owner and stuff. We get hammered with people moaning about onto this podcast about Marcel Brands. When is the actual ire of the fans going to turn on Mashiri and say
it's coming? Honestly, it's coming.
Promised us the promised land, but the way that club is being run at the moment, it's a plaything for him. He's making football decisions without any basis of making football decisions. He's appointed 6 managers in 6 years or something, or 5 years. When is actually the fans going to turn around and say enough?
Can I jump in there, Mills? Just one comment.
Go on.
Honestly, Terry, I genuinely think you've got 3 Evertonians here. And this is how I see Twitter. It's how I see my comments on YouTube. Literally, different people are pointing fingers at different people. Like, it's mad. It's like, I could sit here and criticize. Trust me, I'm done with Farhad Mashiri. Like, I'm sitting here on podcast. First time I've said it ever. I'm done. I don't think. I agree with what you've just said, Terry. I don't think he quite gets. He's put people in charge that have made mistakes, and he's just left them to get on with it, making even more mistakes. And we've gone further and further down. But Millsy might be like, no, I'm all right with Farhad because he's giving us that stadium, and he has invested money, and that's the issue. So many Everton fans are on different pages at this point.
And I think that's indicative of the fact that nobody actually knows who's making the decisions. So that's why everyone's pointing fingers at different people, because it's not clear who's making the decision. So some people might say Mashiri for putting the money in. Some people might say Brands because he hasn't invested the money properly. We don't actually know who's making the decisions, and that's the problem. And we said it before on the podcast. That's why people are aiming their frustration at different things. I think what I know the media are trying to get us to blame the manager. I think I don't want to speak for Millsy and Mike here. I don't see many people pointing the finger at the manager at this stage because the players are so bad because of the investment and recruitment that's taken place before. So while everyone is blaming different people, for me it's the 3 higher level people. So it's your Brands, your Mashiri and Kenwright that are getting the flak more than the manager, and that's because of the manager hasn't got the players at his disposal. He hasn't been able to invest in the team himself because of all the crap we bought previously.
The thing if you look at your team though yesterday, I mean, I looked at it, on paper, I know it's not necessarily your strongest team because you're missing like Decore and Calvert-Lewin and stuff, but that was a team that majority of it anyway last season, at the start of the season, you were talking about being a very good side. You had Pickford and goal, Digne at left back, Coleman right back, you had Keane and Godfrey, I think, centre back. All right, so I know Michael Keane's, you've got issues with Keane and stuff, but you had Godfrey there at centre back. You had Allen was playing in the midfield. You had Tamari Gray on the left. You had Townsend on the right, and Richarlison was on the pitch. So, on paper, the team, you shouldn't be looking at it thinking that team's abysmal though, because it was good enough. It was reasonably good enough at the start of the season.
They played it a different way. Carlo set that team up. That's why we couldn't win home games last season, because we were hard to play against until you had the ball. And then he set us up with that low block style. Ben Godfrey didn't play centre-half last season for Everton unless he was in a 3. So he was protected. That low block at Anfield last season, and I know Gary hates this. Gary said after it that Michael Keane was man of the match, and we know how bad Michael Keane was because he didn't move from a 6-yard box, and your strikers had no way of getting past him, and he cleared everything because he had 2 partners next to him. We don't play like that anymore. He plays a 4, he plays zonal, and there's a great article this week on The Athletic showing that Luca Dean's stats this season have changed. He's being asked to play a more defensive game. So just by that alone, you've lost an outlet. We are playing very, very different this season. And I think last season, I don't want to speak for Michael Price here, but you'd have still took Michael Keane and Fabian Delph out that side of the first chance you could have got and replaced them. But they were protected. Michael Keane was protected last season. He was playing in a very, very different team. He's not as protected. It's different now. So I can't get on board with the same players and the same team. It's very, very different for me, that system.
I also think as well, it's absolutely, you know, from an outsider perspective, it's fine looking at Everton's 11 and going, yeah, it's all right. You know, it's probably I don't know, top 10 side or something at this point. You know, however you may look at us, but it's when we get an injury. You know, we've relied on a £1.5 million bargain buy into Mari Gray and a free transfer in Andros Townsend, who, credit to them, have been fantastic. So I'm not slagging them off. But as soon as one of them gets injured, you're replacing it with £35 million Iwobi, who, let's be honest, probably doesn't walk into another Premier League side, bar maybe Norwich. You know, he's just not. He's not good enough. So it really is an absolute car crash situation at Everton, because there is no getting around. One, the squad's too thin. Two, I can question managers' substitutions all day long, and I've been able to question them for 6 years. I didn't get, for example, Rondon coming on at 65 minutes when you've got Ellis Sims, who's just signed a 2-year deal on the bench, and Cenk Tosun, who are both better than Rondon. I would say that all 5 of us are better than Rondon. So
certainly fitter.
It was certainly fit. Well, I mean, yeah, I'm a 16.5 stone ginger leprechaun over here, and I'm telling you now, I'd do a better job than him.
Still fitter.
And you know, the issues are everywhere. We've got one left back. Because we let the other one go out on loan. It's just that the issue is so much bigger than just the 11 players, just the manager, just the director of football, just the chairman. That, honest to God, we may as well liquidise and start again.
Do you know what? We actually got a similar comment, and I think myself, Mike, and Placey can talk all day, but we got peppered on social media. The Evertonians have sent lots of social media questions in. So, Gary, do you want to bring a few in?
Yeah, I'll just rattle through a few of them, because there is quite a few that we got battered with. So we start from we got one from Nick Morris, who's a regular commenter. To be fair, if someone told me everyone from top to bottom was getting sacked at Everton tomorrow, I wouldn't sleep tonight with the excitement of getting shut of all the shite. Great comment. Another one from Terry said, "Oh no, I'll leave that to later. That's a bit of a different topic." EFC picks, sick of Everton. Don't know how you do it, you know. So that's the Blues on the podcast. Another one on Instagram. Where's our next win coming from? I'm seriously worried we'll be bottom 3 at Christmas. Do you want to just tackle them for now?
Look, I mean, the fixtures are not getting any easier, are they? I mean, that we really needed to beat Watford and Wolves just to give us that cushion, because we can very, very easily, and I don't think for 1 minute, and the lads might disagree with me, I don't think we're in trouble in relation to being relegated, but I think we could be in a position come December where it could look like that, for me.
I think we've got. I don't think there's any danger of being relegated or bottom 3. I think, but being 14th and 13th isn't beyond the realms of possibility, and that'd be just as that'd be really disappointing for us going into the season. I think we were going to be top 8 or top 7, or hoping we were going to be top 8, top 7. I think we can hover around 13th or 14th come Christmas, and then really struggle in the second half of the season to get into the top 10. I think I can see that happening. I can't see us sliding so far down that we're bottom 3.
I think it's pricey. Is there not a chance that if you're lingering around that sort of like 13th, 14th around Christmas time, would Rafa, you know, and I know yous aren't sort of calling for it, but would the patience be there? You know, from the
patience is so, as Mike said, it's so bigger than the manager. It's not with. Don't get wrong, there will be fans calling for his head, as there will be at any club if you're hovering around that position. But it's so much bigger than that. No manager that would be available that could realistically come in will get a tune out of those players. It needs getting offloading players. It needs bringing a couple in January, and then it needs having a look in the summer. I said after about 5 games, we can't wait for the summer to bring in a few extra players. That's what it needs. So there might be fans calling for it, but I can't see any manager that realistically could get a tune out of those players. I just can't see it. These might disagree with me, but I think it's a bigger thing than that. I think it just needs a couple of transfer windows with Benitez in place just to see what he can do and give him the opportunity to be able to do what he wants.
I think that's fair, Pricey, because if you think about it, you know, the players who really haven't necessarily been criticised this season are players that he brought in. You know, we've criticised players from last season. I've criticised Alan this season, his passing. at times this season is horrendous. Like, again, all 5 of us could do better passing. The pass out from Alan this weekend, which literally he managed to pass it around Fabian Delph to Rodri with the outside of his boot. I mean, we're all blowing smoke up Cancelo's arse, but let's be realistic. That pass from Alan was better than that. Lovely outside the foot, hits it first time, and we've caused our own problems again. But again, this is a player that we signed for £20 million, and I rate highly. But what I'm saying is the players we signed this season with the bargain buys haven't been our issue, because they've got the right mentality, if you get what I mean. These are players that haven't come in on that big price tag, haven't came into, because Everton have got loads of money and going forwards and are exciting. It's players that haven't necessarily fulfilled their potential. Yeah, they've got a point to prove, and we need more of those players. It's fine. I read the other day we were being linked with Koulibaly because he said how much he liked Benitez. That's not a signing Everton need to make. We need to go and make signings with people who have got a point to prove, because the players that we are playing now, they're pointless. None of them.
Just like they're along for the ride. They're just there.
That's what I mean.
To be there, yeah.
That's what I mean. And me and Millsy had this debate a couple of weeks ago, and I remember me and you saying how many players out this Everton team we would keep. And I think it was something like 6 out of about 25. That is how shoddy the recruitment's been. £270 million Marcel Blands has had to spend. We've the guy before him having 220 million or something and spent it in a shorter period. This team, if you'd have said to me 6 years ago, when we come out with all of that stuff, we made the most amazing promo video I've ever seen. I mean, you lot must be, point that way. You lot must be absolutely wetting yourselves. Nothing will be the same. 2016, 17 season tickets, nothing will be the same. And we're sitting here with a team of players that just couldn't give a toss. Win, lose or draw, they pick up their pay packet. Yeah. And that is being managed by a former Reds legend, maybe, or at least highly regarded manager. So, yeah, it's fantastic being a Blue right now. I love it. I love it.
Okay, we'll just move on to the Reds question. We got one from Sam. I found this a bit odd to come from the Arsenal game, but he said, thought the tempo wasn't there again first half. Worrying that we still aren't at the levels previously set. All this does is show teams that were lacking that edge and allowed them to take points off us like Brighton did. I could understand that coming in after the Brighton game, or a game where we dropped points. But for me, the first half, it wasn't that we were lacking an edge. I think it was just a case of the tactics evened each other out, and we were sort of up against it a little bit. And then we found our breakthrough, and then resorted back to looking like the team that we were a year ago, 2 years ago.
Yeah, you said that before. You didn't. I did think there was a little bit of a tempo issue. It felt like it was the team sort of wanting to feel the way through, and which I don't like. I think when we've been at our best, a couple of seasons ago under Klopp, it was basically when we got at games straight from the off. It was a lot more sort of aggressive, about the way we went about our football. I think we sort of morphed into this other team then, where we wanted to be a lot more controlled, winning games 1-0 and stuff. And I still don't like that, because I don't think we're quite as good as we were then. Where if we go behind, I'm almost confident that we'll definitely win the game. Yeah. At the moment, I don't think that's the case. That first goal is absolutely crucial, I think. When you look at the Brighton game, on the back of the Man U result, the Brighton game, it felt like the players were a bit, not arrogant's the wrong word, but the game started and it looked quite easy and we were quite blasé and, looked like we were just casual and stuff. And then all of a sudden the game sort of caught up on us a little bit. Brighton got a foothold in it, and then they sort of... So I can see what the listener's saying. There's a worry where we let teams almost think, actually, this isn't too bad playing Liverpool at Anfield. But
with you saying that though, saying you're not as confident as you were a couple of years or last year, whatever it was, when we were going 1-0 up, and you just think, okay, that's it, we've won. Or if we go behind early, you're confident that we can get it back. Was that not the right approach against the team that hasn't lost a game in 9 games, who were on the up, who were starting to hit a bit of form? Was it not the right approach first half to feel them out and make sure we don't get it by a team full of confidence?
Me, I don't know. There's one thing feeling it out, and there's one thing wanting to look aggressive in the press. Like what we used to. Like sort of get.
Yeah, but if we're coming off the back of a drop points and a couple of bad games, and we're going into a game against a team who are full of confidence, flying, surely the best thing is not to try and go out, batter them early on and get it on the break and get caught out.
Well, maybe it's just a different mindset. That what we're looking for. For me, on the back of a couple of bad results, a draw against Brighton, and then obviously a disappointing result against West Ham, where I thought we were very sort of second best, in terms of competing and things against the physical West Ham side. I don't personally want Arsenal to come to Anfield. We were in good form and good confidence, and have plenty of the ball, and sort of feel that they've got a sort of platform to go and express themselves. Because all it takes is they go 1-0 up, and all of a sudden we're then chasing the game, and I'm just not as confident at the moment. So in us being able to go, the way we used to, we had that cast iron confidence. It didn't matter. We were going to score. We were 1-0 down, we'd win the game. That's not quite there. So I just want a little bit more sort of deliberateness in the way that we start games.
It's obviously easy for me to sit here now and say this because we won the game 4-0 in the end, and it ends up being a breeze. But I do think there's something in that we've purposely gone out and approached the game like we did the first half, to make sure we didn't go behind early doors and that. I thought it was a very professional performance, although it was a bit bitty. I thought we were very professional first half without trying to be over the top playing and trying to get in behind with stupid balls and trying to force it. Thought we bided our time, got the goal when we did, which was perfect timing, and then was able to come out and sort of express ourselves a bit better second half.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and it's one, as I say, I think fans will be sort of divided over. For me, I just want a little bit more deliberateness, a little bit more sort of aggression, in our general play and demeanour. But, I'm not going, as you say, you look back and we've tonked them there, so it's almost like, shut up, Terry. But
yeah, what do we know?
Can I just add something from an outside perspective? Because I obviously do shows with other Liverpool fans and whatever, and I was speaking to Grizz about it, for example, and we were saying that the ideology's almost changed from Klopp, that the way he sort of sets up his team now, because let's be fair, 2 or 3 years ago, it's very difficult again for me to say this, but this, Liverpool team that had only missed the Premier League by 1 point, won the Champions League. Then the season after, they win the league and lose the Champions League or the final or, whatever. So this is a Liverpool team that were, credit to them, brilliant. All jokes aside, they were brilliant. Then you obviously had that blip at home last season, and not necessarily a great season up to Liverpool standards. And you saw little moments last season where maybe teams had just sort of cottoned on to how Liverpool were playing. Villa did it at Villa Park. No one expected a 7-2 defeat for Liverpool, but it happened. And I sort of think that Klopp now is deliberately able to go, right, in certain situations, certain teams, we can go and batter, we can go and press really high intensity, because you've got the energy to do it. The players have worked at that for years now. But there is moments where you can almost see him saying, right, let's not keep it with the same intensity. Let's slow it down a little bit. Let's be a bit calmer. And that gives them confidence. And then as it gives the opposition confidence, then you hit them. And then you that's what you did against Arsenal, in my mind.
Yeah, to be fair, there's been, over the past few years, there's been little slight adjustments that we've seen. We've noticed, and we've made a point of on the show as well, that, what the 1 year, I think it was the year when we went to the Champions League final and got beat, we were absolutely annihilating teams that season. We were going out, we were dominating the ball, we were scoring loads of goals. And then the season we won the Premier League was a lot different, where we were a lot more reserved, we were a lot more controlled in games. And there is always, every season, there's always a slight adjustment. I think the start of this season, where we started playing well higher up or was it the start of last season?
The VAR,
playing well higher up the pitch, and that was the adjustment he made that year. I think this year, we're starting to see him put all of that together in different games, as you're saying. There are times where we're playing high up the pitch. There are times where we're sitting in a bit and soaking up a bit of pressure. Maybe it is what you're saying. We're giving the opposition confidence to then step up a gear or two and play how we know we can once they come out a little bit. But I think it's got to be credit to Klopp and the coaching team, because all them adjustments that have been over the years, all the players, we've got majority of the same squad that we've had for so long. We've only had a few players come in. They all know exactly, if he says, okay, this is how we're playing this week, which was from 2 years ago, they know exactly what's expected of them. Same as from last year. If we're playing a bit higher up the pitch, they're all well drilled on every single outcome, what Klopp wants to do. And I think, again, as I said before, that's credit to them. And hopefully we get it right in the majority of games. Obviously, there's going to be games where we get it wrong. The West Ham game, the Brighton game, didn't work out, and we've dropped points. But the likes of that Arsenal game, I think, as I keep saying, I think we played it to perfection. And obviously, it's easy to say, but we've come out with the 4-0 win, and we can move on from that now and hopefully keep it going on the back of that game.
Imagine if we could have these conversations with Everton fans, eh, lad?
No, I'm sitting here.
It's horrible, and it is horrible, and it's no disrespect to you, lads. And obviously, I'm the sort of guy that sort of just joined tonight, but it's horrible to hear how different it is. I can imagine your viewers and your listeners. You've got Reds who are absolutely buzzing, positive, feeling like they're going to, challenge for a league and a title and cups, etc. And you've got Blues, and we've genuinely just had a conversation about, are we going to get relegated? I mean, it's just
our viewers are on one end of the spectrum to the other. Honestly, it's crazy. They haven't told you've seen the social media questions we get, that the Reds are just 99% of the time they're really happy, and the Blues 99% of the time they just want to join me placing judging and moaning and trying to get Marcel Van sacked.
Right, the next bunch of comments that I'll put to you, they're all similar. It's all regarding the chat around the manager and stuff. This one's from Terry through the website. Said, if Moyes was appointed, would we have shown so little interest as we did today, or against Wolves, for example? Or are the Blues going to still back Rafa, or admit we were wrong in wanting him over Moyes? This football club is in the toilet. Fold it. Fold it. Wow. What's the point when fans want Rafa over Moyes? We're in a right mess with no signs to get us out of it. Is that Moyes' lad right in there?
Loads of fans didn't want Moyes back, and maybe
I didn't.
I forget now how strongly I felt about it. And I know when he was first rumoured to come back, when Martinez got sacked, and I didn't want to touch him. I can't remember how strongly I felt recently.
You didn't.
But
let
me just say that Everton team under David Moyes, despite people looking back, and it's always easy to look back with those rose-tinted glasses, David Moyes' Everton team got tonked loads of times. He took knives into gunfights. When he went, there was a large section of the fan base who were singing "Stuck with Moyes" at Man United, playing negative football because we were playing a different brand of football. So It wasn't all rosy under David Moyes. I seen Everton get turned over a lot of times. So to say we wouldn't have got beat by Wolves or Man City, I think that's whoever the listener was. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be insulting, but I think that's quite naive, really, because I've seen it happen.
Well, here's one from the other end of the spectrum from Robbie. He said, ridiculous amount of talk about replacing the manager if we lose some of these games. Replace them with who? Name who you want. They'd still have Keane, Iwobi, one fullback either side, two midfielders worth a carrot, one centre forward, and no squad. Get real. This is grim and bare season. No fault of the manager who's been here for a matter of months when we go into a season with a squad of grossly ill-equipped to cope with virtually every department. Look at our bench tomorrow. It's embarrassing given that we're up against it. So that seemed like it was pre-City.
That's pretty much what we said before. I said what I said before. That was a bit more explicit, but
then another one who's back on Rafa's back from Elliot. He said that performance yesterday is the reason I'll never back this manager. He sets us up to try and scrape a draw, and we still got beat 3-0. If Allardyce done this, every Blue would be calling for his head. Rafa out.
But this is what I mean. This is like, I was looking at polls last night on Twitter, and it was 50-50 on whether you'd sack Rafa. And look, if you said to me right now, Rafa Benitez leaves Everton Football Club, I'm not actually asked. Like, I'm not bothered if he's there or not. But he isn't the major issue at Everton. He just isn't. But there's only so many times I can stomach seeing Rondon, so he's kind of making that rod for his own back at that point. But as all of those comments allude to, the squad's not good enough, and the left back situation. I actually put all of that down to Marcel Brands. So again, I'm Mashiri out, I'm Marcel Brands out. Honest to God, if I could get rid of the entire board at Everton, I would. I genuinely would if I could get rid of the whole board, because it's gross negligence what's happened to our football club. And the thing about Moyes, and this is where me and Millsy are probably going to disagree for the first time ever, but I was really against David Moyes coming back. Not because of the football. As I was growing up, I used to love teams with Mikel Arteta in, Tim Cahill, Yakubu bossing defences, Pinar on the left-hand side, Kevin Morales doing it. I loved those Everton sides. I thought we played great football. The last season that Moyes was there, I thought we were brilliant. There was one specific game against Aston Villa away, and we were absolutely tremendous. It's a game that stuck with me forever. But I didn't want to go back on, sort of old times. I wanted to move forward, different manager, different approach, whatever. If you'd say to me right now, who do you want to come in and manage Everton Football Club right now? It would be David Moyes, because I can genuinely say, although we got tonked, although we lost games, Wigan in the quarterfinal of the FA Cup, I remember, stands out. I don't think we ever lacked an identity under David Moyes. And I genuinely can say over the last 4 years, I think we've completely lacked an identity.
True.
I think Millsy frozen there.
Is he just made up?
He's smiling, he's buzzing, Millsy. He loves it. He's thrown himself. He's raging at the camera, any Millsy. He's like, I hate you. No more Mike and Millsy shows. That's it. It's done, finished.
That is the greatest freeze frame ever with what you were talking about there, Mike. That is great. Millsy loving the fact that Everton clap.
Well, but I agree to a certain point there. I think I like Moyes. And to be honest, I would have had him back in the summer. But I get your point, definitely. We want to move forward and push on from that, aren't we? And he couldn't push on when he was here, so why would you go back, I suppose? But I don't see any other manager that can come in at this. The manager's not the issue. Same as Mike, if he went tomorrow, I don't think I'd be too bothered, but he's not the issue.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. He's not the issue, but at the moment, not having a manager that unifies the fan base is bad as well, isn't it?
I suppose so, yeah.
The problem is there isn't someone available, because we can all sit here and say, maybe Ferguson would come in and step in again, but I don't know many Evertonians that at this point in time would probably give him the job on a permanent basis just yet. Even though he's been in that sort of role for 5 years now, say, and he still wouldn't be given the chance to manage Everton on a full-time basis. So honestly, again, it's just a real mess. It's just a real mess, because there isn't a manager or a person out there that I genuinely think the fans would get behind. Carlo last season almost did it, but towards the end of the season, again, I actually wasn't bothered if he was there or not. I'd gone past it with Carlo as well.
Common denominator is the players, isn't it? That's the issue.
Yeah. And Marcel Brands. Let's not let him off.
So the final one we've got, it's a Liverpool one, but this will bring in the previews in nicely. It's about the European Cup, Terry. So it's from John on the website. He said, with Liverpool already being qualified in first position, would you completely rest the entire 11 and play the kids?
It's a tough question.
Should we just start the preview section off now?
Yeah, it's a tough question, isn't it? Because, we seen what happened last time when we played Jota in a dead rubber and he got a serious knee injury, and then we lost him for months of the season, against Midtjylland. So it's like, you don't want to see us do something like that, where you play the senior players, someone gets a serious injury in a game that, it's meaningless game. Yeah. But at the same time, there's an element from my perspective of sort of thinking, well, the fans are still there. The fans are still, spending the money to go to the game. And it's not a case of just throwing all of the other players in. You want them to play with some of the other, like the starters in the normal games, so that
I think
there's some element of consistency. Do you know what I mean?
I think for me, it wouldn't be a case of playing the kids as such, and I don't even know how many kids are actually in the Champions League squad, because there's obviously only a set amount, so I don't know how many there is actually there. But I think the fringe players who you may need to come in from time to time, the likes of Origi should start this game. Minamino should probably start this game.
Yeah.
Whoever's on the way back from injury in the midfield, whether is Keita going to be back in time to be able to play? Is Milner going to be able to play? These type of players, they're going to be able to get some minutes in their legs coming back from injury. That's what I'd do. I know we said earlier on about Tsimikas not losing his place, but I'm thinking even if he doesn't play in this game, I wouldn't see that as him losing his place. I'd see it as him getting rested and ready for the weekend's game. I wouldn't necessarily play all of the younger players and the ones who aren't really going to get many minutes in the league, but I'd certainly play the majority of the fringe players if we can, just to get more minutes and more game time in their legs.
Yeah, I don't disagree on that point. I think definitely, as you say, Origi, Minamino, all of them types of players, that, get them in and get them playing. I'd leave Tsimikas in, honestly. I think if Robertson's injury isn't serious and he's on the way back anyway, I'd leave Tsimikas in. I want him to get a bit more, build up ahead of steam and run of games. And this type of game where he can almost attack a little bit with, he can sort of stretch his legs a little bit, really see what he can do, because there's no pressure on him. I'd maybe leave him in. I think what you do if, basically you bring Robertson in here, back into this game, then he has a worldy game, and you're sort of I know it's a nice problem to have, but it's almost like that headache.
Of course, and
what an issue you lads have got.
Yeah,
it's great.
I think I agree with you. I'd get as many of the players.
You've got Canate, Gomez, who can come in and play this game. You've got probably Nico Williams can probably get some minutes in his legs, just in give Trent a little break, because he's never getting a rest in the important games, is he? So I'd certainly do that. Should we go prediction?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. It's a funny one, isn't it? To sort of really look ahead to, because it's a nothing game. We've earned the right to sort of for it to be a little bit of a
free hit,
and hopefully the players feel that as well. They can sort of, don't want them to disgrace themselves, but at the same time, they can play with no pressure. Sometimes you get a boss performance out of that.
Yeah, just go and try and enjoy it.
Yeah. So I actually, given we've seen Port, I think they're a great side. You know what I mean? And I reckon I'm going to say Liverpool 3-0.
Bloody hell! I'm hoping that these players will see this as an opportunity to try and stamp a bit of authority on the game, to try and show that they can go into the first team. So I'm hoping that comes off and we do get the win. I'll go a bit more cautious. I'll say 2-1 Liverpool.
Just want to touch upon the Southampton game on Saturday before you move off. I know it's hard to, because there's a game in between.
Well, it shouldn't be too bad, because if what we're saying happens and we do get a whole, or more or less a wholesale change, we'll probably have a fit squad again to go into that game. So you're probably looking at more of the same team against Southampton as we played against Arsenal. If we get that, Southampton are one of them teams. If they turn up on the day, they can be a good side, and they can play some good stuff. But I can't see them causing too many problems for Liverpool. I can't see them do. You can see Brighton, although I expected us to turn Brighton over, you can see that they have got the philosophies there, and they do play some good football and things. And West Ham have been on the up this season. They picked up points off us, but I just can't see it from Southampton.
Yeah, it's whether the team is the same against Southampton. If Henderson's back, I think you might see Henderson come back into that side alongside Fabinho.
By the same, I just mean it's going to be more of the first 11 rather than what's going to play against Porto.
Yeah, I just, as good as Thiago was, I think he's the type of player that you want in them sort of bigger games. Like I've said, the games where you need a bit more quality and control in the midfield. You're up against proper decent players. I'm not saying Southampton aren't a good side, but at the same time, I expect a Henderson Fabinho is probably a better set up with maybe an Oxlade-Chamberlain in front of it than maybe a Thiago Fabinho sort of back line, base of the midfield. So I do think we might see some changes. But yeah, I agree with you. I think get a lot of players rested in this Champions League game, and then we should hopefully have more of a fit and well squad to choose from against Southampton. And as you say, it's always tough to look ahead when you've got another fixture in between. But I fully expect we can take all 3 points against Southampton. So
go on, predictions.
I'm going to say Liverpool 2-0.
2. I'm going to go your predictions for Paul. So I'm going to go 3-0.
All right, and just quickly to end the show, Everton play Brentford away on Sunday. Mike, I think me and you, our social media, I think we man both our accounts, don't we? So we see a lot of fan reaction. It's quite split. One of the main things people are saying is it's must win. Is it must win for you?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the fixtures we've got coming up, and equally obviously, we've played 2 decent sides in a row now. This is absolutely a must-win. My issue is, and again, you might agree, Millsy, but I think we're going to really struggle.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think Brentford are one of those teams who will firstly, they'll look at Everton as a team that they can beat. That's staff, manager, players, and fans as a club. They'll look at Everton as a team they can beat on Sunday. And I think they're going to be a nightmare to play against. I think they're a team who are relentless with pace, with energy, and against us, that's everything that we can't really compete with, even at times last season. Regardless of how good at times last season was, we always struggled against a team who would really get in your face. And Brentford, for me, are one of those teams.
I really think that their manager, I'm pretty sure it's Thomas Frank, I think his name is, but he's got this ability to pick players who he sort of wants to pick on. And imagine Ivor Toney going up against Michael Keane. It's horrendous to even think about. Then you've got the midfield who, I was sort of hoping Decore would be closer to being fit for this game, to be honest, because I sort of penciled this game in the international break going, right, we're going to lose to City. We need to go to Brentford and get a result. And with Decore in the side, I'd be a lot more confident. I think he was brilliant. Yeah. But without him, I don't quite know how the transition from midfield to attack happens. And against the Brentford side that are free-flowing, quick, aggressive, I can't see us winning this game.
No. Well, what are you, Pricey? Are you looking at this game similar to me and Mike? Are you thinking it's a must-win because of the fixtures pre and post?
Because of the fixtures, and when you look at the league as well, I think if we lose this one and the 7th, 8th, Wolves, Tottenham, those type of teams win, there's already a gap opening up between where we want to be and where we are. So that's why it's a big game for me. Fixtures coming up, but also because we could fall really, 5 points, 6 points behind those type of teams, and that's hard to make up again. I think it'll be hard again, same as Mike. I think Brentford will be really aggressive, especially at home. They're difficult to beat, and then they can be stubborn and all that type of thing. And they always seem to score goals as well. Even when they get beat, they always seem to get on the sheet. So I don't think we'll win. I'll predict a draw, a score draw, just because I don't really want to predict us getting beat against Brentford. But I think I'd love a win, but I can't see it.
My worry is, just to sort of just chip in there, my worry is looking at that league table is the fact that Leeds, that are 17th, are only 4 points behind us. And we already can see that we're bottom of the form table, like we are, we're 20th in the form table. And we are probably, as of right now, one of the worst teams in the Premier League. The form says it. So going up against a Brentford side that have got a win in them, got legs in them, I'm really worried.
Yeah. So looking at the game itself, what do we do lineup-wise? Because we've just lost Amari Gray, who's going to be out for apparently 6 weeks now. Decore may not be back. Yerry Mina may not be back. Dominic Calvert-Lewin won't be back. Richarlison is suspended. Fabian Delph has played 2 games on the spin now, so we all know what his fitness levels are like. How do you see us lining up?
I think it's really easy. sorry, Paul. So you
go on. You go for it, Mike. Go on.
Yeah, I just think you drop all 11 players, you rest them, and you go and win 3-0. Like, no problem. That's what we do. We bring the kids in because the first 11, it's just a complete waste of time. And I don't think it matters how we set up in this game, because I don't think we're going to have a front three of like Rondon, Townsend and Ellie Sims or Cenk Tosun. Like, that's what's going to happen. It'll be 4-3-3, and the front three will be, oh god.
The issue is we know how it's gonna look. It's gonna be Iwobi, it's gonna be Rondon, it's gonna be Delph. That's what it's gonna be. We're just gonna have to, one of those games, as Mike says, we just need to battle it out and see if we can just scrape something with the players that we've got available and see if we can get a win with it. It's not going to be a game we go into and try and play good football or anything. It's just a game that we need to try and win, and with the players available, it's going to be a scrap.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but this is the sort of game when I actually think we could do with some more legs in midfield, and then Tom Davies gets injured. And I'm not saying I rate Tom Davies. For any Everton fans in here, don't come at me. I'm not saying I love Tom Davies. I don't. But these are the sort of games against newly promoted sides that should be his level. And it should be that he can get on the ball and be that link between midfield and up front, because, you've just mentioned Delph there, Alan. Neither of them can do that. So again, unless Iwobi can do something with the ball, which we already know he can't, I don't get where it happens. I don't get how we get the ball into our strikers.
The only one that's looked like he could be able to do it is Townsend when he played in centre midfield, which I know is a long shot, but he's the one who I'd probably put in midfield with the three in midfield, him in there with Delph and Alan, and he'd be the one to try and do it, because out of everyone, I think he's one person that does show like he cares and he's having a go. So I'd put him in centre midfield with Alan and Delph and just see if he can do that link-up job, but Mike's just tried to talk them out.
Do you want to give us a prediction, Pricey, for Sunday?
Yeah, score draw.
Mike, where are you sitting, prediction-wise?
1-1.
1-1.
What about you?
What a massively positive Everton show again. I'll be brave. I'll go 2-1 Everton. I won't go as far as saying Rondon will score, but I'll say 2-1 Everton. I think the manager's no idiot. I think he knows what we know. This is a must-win game for Everton. He's already said this week, hasn't he, after the City game, that we have to set up differently at Brentford. So I'm hoping, and I also think as well, I think it'll be an entertaining game for a neutral, but I think we could nick it by the odd goal.
Interesting stat on Rafa. 3 times in his career, he's gone 10 games where he's picked up less than something like 8 points or 6 points. The 10 games after that, he would pick up over 20. So it's coming good. We're going to finish 4th. We ain't going to worry about it. We're going to be in the Champions League. We're going to knock Liverpool out the FA Cup. We're going to be flying Blues. Do not worry about that. We're going to be chanting Rafa's the man.
Mike, we know even you don't believe that.
Mate, if you've listened to my channel, honest to God, you know.
Mike, it's a good time.
Your channel, you've cheered me up no ends on this one.
Oh, I bet.
Well, my cheeks are killing after this one.
Let's finish on that positive note. I
was just going to say it's a good time for all of us to thank you, Mike. I mean, not only for coming on the show, but you help us with the graphics and stuff. I've said on your show as well, you helped me on the WhatsApp through the StreamYard, and I think we're all really thankful for your help and for coming on the show. Do you want to tell our Blue listeners and viewers, who probably already know where to find you, but do you want to tell them, whilst your dog is absolutely barking away there, do you want to tell them where they can find you?
You tell them. I'll be back.
Okay, whilst Mike has been attacked by a pit bull, if you get over to the Blue Boys Network, just type in Blue Boys, boys with a Z at the end of it, a little bit different, over on a YouTube channel. Mike does fantastic content for all Evertonians. He has guests on. Whoever we play at the weekend, he has guys from their fan channels on. He has great previews and reviews as well. Ourselves, if you can see just by Gary's head there, that button is so important to us. If you click that button, it means that we get the chance to bring you some more content, hopefully. We do 2 shows a week. We're going to bring a game on at the end of this week as well. But the subscriber number is really important. I don't want to bore you with why, but they're really important to any YouTube channel. So if you've already subscribed, thank you so much for that. But please put this link of our channel in your WhatsApp groups. Go and write it on a bus stop do what you want, but help us get some more subscribers, please. But thank you again to Mike for joining us this week. It's not been the most positive show for the Blues, but it's been a really positive show for the Reds. So thank you so much from myself, Millsy, Pricey, Gary, and Terry. We will see you again at the end of the week for Game On.